Salam, Salam, Lemba, Better Israel. Salam to all the Kiki, Lemba, Better Israel around the world. Salam to the Queen Mother of this honorable kingdom, Queen Mother Bukeka Naya Israel. No. I distinguish the Royal Executive Council of this wonderful and honorable kingdom, and the members of the Royal Executive and honorable and the highest Supreme Courts in this wonderful and honorable kingdom. I greet you all with salam greetings. I'll also distinguish the princesses and the princess of this honorable kingdom in the royal palace of the Lemba Better Israel kingdom. These greetings of salam are coming from King Binyam Selamun of Lemba Better Israel, from the royal courts of Lemba Better Israel Kingdom in Santiago de Chile, South America. I should like to send my salam greetings to everyone that is listening to this video, that's watching this video, to feel welcome to be watching and also to see that they could relate with us in one way or the other, or in some form. I have come to speak to you today after the Sambat that we had yesterday, after the celebration of the great Sambat of the week of this moon of Ketete in the year 7092 in Lemba Better Israel lunar calendar. I should like to identify the whole children of Israel, and on behalf of the nation of Israel, and I speak to the world, on behalf of all the children of Lemba Better Israel in Ethiopia, in Sudan, in South Africa, in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Congo, and all over the world as they are scattered in the four corners of the earth. Today, I should like to speak about a very important subject that for millennia has not been spoken about, or even if it did get spoken about, had never been such an impact in the lives of the children of Israel or in the lives of those that live in the neighborhood with the children of Lemba Better Israel. The kingdom is rising and making further tremendous progress, rather, in all the territories where we have a very good and powerful stronghold, that they are grouping themselves up in order to meet certain obligations within the kingdom and to make sure there is social growth and social development and a real good advancement in terms of learning together and each teaching the other what being Lemba Better Israel is all about. And this is a very good and tremendous progress that we have taken notice of, that the children of Israel are getting together in different parts of the world in one accord to proclaim the greatness of their culture and to recognize the importance of their heritage and to live it and to celebrate it. So today I should like to speak about the history and the current affairs in the kingdom. I will try to marry the past and marry it to the present so that we can present the best of the old and the best of the new concerning Lemba Better Israel. I'm sure some of you are beginning to notice that the kingdom is standing firmly now to lead the children to a destination, to a place where they will have to live in their own territory without having to be mingling with other cultures that may not be convenient to mingle with. If one is a Lemba Better Israel person, we have so many traditions and customs that we do not want to wish to see them infiltrated by customs from somewhere else. So we are a very unique people, and we live in harmony with others in the regional landscape, but we always maintain our uniqueness as a people, Lemba Better Israel. So we are trying to suggest, and we are even making it very clear and hinting some facts that we are a very unique nation and we live in harmony, peace and stability with those that are in the neighborhood of these territories where we have a stronghold of Lemba Better Israel people. But the strength that we have is in our God, that repeatedly I have mentioned him, the Exia Mwari, the Amalak, Lakulu Manfas, Lakulu Sasega, who is the God or the Master of all spirit and of all flesh. And this God that we have, the Supreme Being that we're looking at, who walks on the clouds and who is in the hollows of trees and who also moves in the wind and who also comes in the storms and lightnings of the storm and the rains and the clouds, is still with us today. He's still walking with us and speaking to us with a voice as clear as crystal and a voice as clear as a human voice that you could recognize and understand. And the utterances of such a voice, the message that comes out of such a voice, is understandable to the Lemba Better Israel children. In all their history, our God has been walking with us, talking to us. We do not have to build a belief system because we have the real direct perception and the understanding, and the standing that we have with our God is quite a practical one, that we do not have to imagine him in any form. We can only perceive him as he should be perceived. We can see him as he should be seen. We can hear him as he should be heard. So today, I should like to speak about union with him in many forms, through symbolism and through ritual relics and artifacts. So I should like to speak today about, I'll try to make it brief. I'd like to speak about the Ark of the Covenant that was in the temple, as according to our history and our historical account, factual historical accounts, that we had a chest or a wooden box that was laced with gold that kept the commandments that Moses received from the mountain. And this became the book of the law that we're still keeping to this day. And these commandments and the special tablets were placed in a box that all of you have come to know, even in so-called Abrahamic faith, that there was such an instrument or such an artifact, such a relic, such a sacred object that was holding the commandments of our God inside it. And it was not only the keeping of the commandments inside the Ark of the Covenant, it was also the seating of our God in terms of communication with us in the temple and in the Holy of Holies, so that we could come into union with him and be able to speak with him and be able to reflect on him and be able to perceive him through the cherubims, through the the angels and cherubims that were sticking out from that box, and the thunder that came out of that, and the miracles that came out of that, and the sacred objects that were associated with this particular chest called the Ark of the Covenant. And in our original language, we call it the Tabot, the Tabot, the Tabot Seyon, which means the Ark of Zion, which was a sitting place for our God to speak with us. In all campsites that we've been to, even in the Holy of Holies and the temples of our father Solomon, this was the sitting of our God in our midst, that he was not far from us. But then we have a history of tragedy, that at some point this special relic, the special chest of a symbol of union with him, was lost from the temple. And to this day, it has not been found. Yes. And so we have a historical account about what happened to it in the 9th century BC with the son of Solomon called MENELIK, Abimelech, who went to SABA with it from his father's homestead and temple in Jerusalem, and took it to SABA, which some people say it is Ethiopia today, which arguably is not exactly that. It is actually the land of SABA that had listened to the voice of the Most High God of Lemba, Israel. The ark was taken from Solomon's temple to SABA, which we call Ethiopia today, to have a new covenant with the people of SABA, who have now turned their ear to the voice of the Almighty One of all spirit and all flesh in SABA, the son of the Queen of Saba, Saba being our patriarch as a people, the father of this nation, where I'm speaking from. And then the ark was taken there. The people of SABA had a covenant with the Most High One and the Holy One of Lemba Israel for many, many, many years. And after so many years, of course, they turned away from him and they became a Christian people. The Egyptian Coptic people came to deceive them, and they converted their emperor. The emperor got converted to an Egyptian religion, which has nothing to do with Israel, with Lemba Israel. And then the people of SABA, who are presently called Ethiopians today, begin to lose their way and to adopt symbols and deities of the Egyptian Coptic people and the Greeks and the Romans, and forgot about the covenant that they had with the Lemba Israel, God. So the ark was kept in Ethiopia for a long, long time. But there came a time when there was war and famine in Ethiopia, and the children of Israel were persecuted in Ethiopia for being the true children of Israel, Lemba Israel, who are not compromising their faiths and their culture and tradition to an Egyptian Coptic Christianity, which had nothing to do with their cultures originally. So therefore, those ones who refused to become Christians were persecuted in Ethiopia, and by those who have forgotten the way of Zion and have taken the Christian pagan religion as their culture now, as an identity, a new identity of deception. So the ark stood in the hands of those that were disobedient to the God of Israel. They placed it in a Christian church. They placed the ark in a Christian church. The Christian church has nothing to do with the Ark of the Covenant of Israel from Solomon's temple. Has nothing to do with it. Those who have the Ark were previously a people that came out of King Solomon and the Queen of Saba. But yet King Solomon and the Queen of Saba were never Christian people. And at the time of King Solomon and the Queen of Saba, even the son of Solomon, MENELIK, Christianity was not even invented. So the descendants of Solomon and Saba became Christians. I don't know why and for what. Because Solomon himself and Saba had nothing to do with something called Christianity. Christianity was not even invented at the time of Solomon and the Queen of Saba. That was the time when the Ark came to Saba. And then in the end, it fell into the hands of those who converted to Christian, Coptic, Egyptian religion, Alexandrian, Roman, and Greek religion, which is paganism and has nothing to do with better Israel. And these people that were in this fashion before the Almighty in this shameful way kept the Ark of the Covenant for a long time. The real Ark of the Covenant, the original copy of the Ark of the Covenant from Jerusalem. So now, as we were rising up as a people and beginning to understand ourselves, who we are and where we came from, we began to halt a little bit, to stop a little while and consider something and say to ourselves, but where is the symbol of the glory of Zion? As a people, we need this glory and this shining object and this shining reunion with our God. Where is it? The Christian is holding it. So during Operation Moses, when the rebels were entering Addis Ababa, in the 80s, between 84 and 89, we had operations happening in Ethiopia to take the Better Israel people from Ethiopia to Israel as a way of saying they are making a return to their homeland. And they were airlifted by United States Navy airplanes, not Israeli airplanes, to lift them up through Sudan to get to Israel. But before they could be released to go to Israel, to return to Israel, which they thought was their homeland, the government of that day in Ethiopia at that particular time wanted to sell them by the pound, wanted to sell them by the dollar, and said, if you don't give us 100 and something million dollars, the Better Israel people will not go. They will not be airlifted to Israel. If you don't do certain things that we want, it was the government of the day in Ethiopia at that particular time, they said, you have to pay. We will hold the Jews, or the Better Israel, as they call them, the Jews, because we don't have that identity. We are called Better Israel, not Jewish. I'm sorry, that's not our identity. Our identity is Better Israel. Yeah, Better Israel were sold by the government of the day in Ethiopia at that particular time. The price of which they were to be sold was in the range of 100 and something million, and then it was brought down through negotiation until they arrived at 35 million, somewhere there, and they settled for that. And so the Better Israel people were released from bondage in Ethiopia to be flown to Israel by U.S. airplanes. So in other words, the U.S. Airlines was in control and was coordinating and was owning the aircrafts that were lifting the children from Ethiopia through Sudan, through Operation Moses, to get to Israel, the modern state of Israel. So what happened? My people were sold for millions of dollars. And then little or no did the people know that also the Ark of the Covenant had to go. It was not only my people that were taken out and sold for 35 million, the Ark of the Covenant also was taken. There was a bribe of $42 million to let the Ark go. Guess who is taking it and who is in control? Guess whose airplanes are in use at this particular time? It was the United States of America's airplanes that pioneered the whole operation. And the President of the United States at that particular time was President Ronald Reagan. And then the ark was taken. 42 million bribe was paid to let the ark go. How do we know this? Well, this kingdom has a very high intelligence and secret agencies that are able to know the truth of what is actually going on over there during that particular time. So we have very reliable sources that the ark was taken. Why was it so easy to have the ark taken through a bribe by people that were not Israelites themselves? The answer is simple and self-explanatory. Those who kept the ark of the covenant, had disobeyed the master of all spirit and all flesh, the God of Israel. So it was a way of saying, since you have perverted this and you have not obeyed me, you will even lose my presence among you. That is the idea, and that is the reason why it is easy for some non-Israelite people from the United States to take the ark away from the real people that were chosen to keep it. So in other words, those who have disobeyed God had to lose union with him. They had to lose it. So the ark was allowed itself to be taken away from them. Because someone was saying, how can the ark be taken? Because it's so powerful that it will stop people from taking it. Well, permission was given by the master that he should go, since the ones holding on to the ark were not faithful to the master. Yes, this is the reason it was easy to get it taken away. Not to say that the ark did not have the power, but to say if they disobey the master, he can let it go to the enemy and be in the enemy's hands for a reason. Yes, that is only known to him, the master. Now, this is the reality on the ground. Where did the United States people and the Navy and the Air Force take the ark to? We have the answers in Lemba, Israel. They took the ark to Pennsylvania in the United States of America. And they took it to an underground bunkers, a nuclear bunker. In the United States, there are underground bunkers that are created so that the people can hide in there, especially the dignitaries within the government of that particular country in terms of nuclear disaster. So there are underground bunkers, several of them across the United States. But in this particular instance, the ark was taken, the Ark of the Covenant, the Tabot of Zion, was taken to Pennsylvania in a place called the Raven Rock or the Raven Rock Mountain, and in an underground bunker called Site R. Site R. This is where it was taken to. It was not taken to Israel or modern state of Israel whatsoever. So the kingdom is here to confirm that the Ark of the Covenant has actually been taken to the United States of America. How do we know this? How can we prove this? Can we be believed? Well, the answers to all those questions is, we in Better Israel, Lemba Better Israel, we possess the oracles of our God, ETHIOPIA, MENELIK, Israel. We're sent to Wetu Samai. This is my name, he said. So we possess the oracles. The reason why we are better Israel is because we possess the oracles of our God. You can go ask anyone else who worships a certain God and find out if they have the oracles or they possess the oracle of their God. If they do not possess the oracles, they don't have the oracles of their God, they cannot be the people of that particular God. The people who belong to a God have to have the oracles of that particular God that they are worshiping. So we are now our exception. We possess the oracles of the God of Lemba, better Israel, just like someone else would possess the oracles of their God somewhere else, if ever there is another God. Yes. So as the leader of the king of Lemba, better Israel, I was visited by the oracles. I did not ask anything. I did not ask the Amalek, Nakulumanfas, the supreme God of Israel, what happened to the ark. I did not make any inquiries. I didn't ask anything about it, but it came to me on a silver plate. The ark was moved at some point where it is being kept in the underground bunkers, according to the oracles. And during that time, they were moving it from one position to another position. And then as they did this, the energy of the ark, the waves, reached me thousands and thousands of miles or kilometers from the place where it stood. It came to me, the energies, I could feel it. And then 3 a.m. in the morning, I heard a voice that said, "Wake up. I've come to tell you about the ark." Why are the people putting gunpowder near the ark of the covenant? The voice said to me, gunpowder has been put near the ark, and this is unacceptable. That was the first instruction, the first concern that I got from the voice of my God, speaking to me. A voice like a human voice came to speak these things. I tried to ignore the voice. The voice repeated itself. He said, "No gunpowder near the ark of the covenant." This is the reason you are feeling it, the way you're feeling, what you're feeling, the waves of the ark, because there is something that is put close to it that should not have been there. Then I said, "What is it?" They said they have put it inside a container that is laced with rocks around it. So it's like a container, a little triangle container, and then it is laced with rocks on the side. These rocks look like bricks, just like I have bricks in the background here of my video. The bricks were not the bricks like the one I have here, but they were stones, and they became a container, and the ark was put inside. So it looked quite a little smaller than I had thought it was. Yes, they put it inside. Then they put it at the bottom of this underground bunkers. And then I saw, as my God was revealing to me, after speaking with me with a voice, and then he said, "Let me show you where it is. There is an underground bunker here. This is the position. This is the landscape. This is where everything is. There is a space here. There is a mountain here. And this is called the Raven Rock. And this is called Site R by the people. And then this is where they entered, and that's where they put it. And then it is smaller. And here in this whole underground bunkers, they are speaking in a coded language. It is the procedure. It is the chain of command that has to be used when you are at the bunkers. By the Navy, they have a secret language that they use among themselves. And I was saying, what are these people saying? When God was revealing everything to me, he said, they are speaking that way because it's the system of operation within the bunkers. The language is a coded language. Yes. Remember, I'd never been there myself, but it was revealed to me by my God the realities of the site are in Pennsylvania. Okay, in Pennsylvania. So, in other words, these things that are happening there were reflected to me. I am thousands and thousands of kilometers away from this place. And I'm also thousands and thousands of kilometers away from the Ark of the Covenant where it has been taken to. Yet I could feel it, hear the waves, the radiation from so far away. It was revealed. Then they said, then I saw a man who looked like a butler who was attending. He had a bow tie, one of those old-fashioned ones. And then he had a jacket and the black trousers with a ribbon, like a silver ribbon on the side. And then this jacket was like stars, and he was singing songs. And then he said he was going to bring it up to the surface, this Ark of the Covenant, to give it to the king of Israel, Lemba Israel, myself, King Binyam Selamun, to receive the Ark from the United States government at the underground bunkers. This is the oracle and the revelation I received thousands and thousands of kilometers away. That's why I'm so confident that the Ark has been taken to this particular place. I posted on Facebook and social media about my experience and the hearing of the voice from my God about the whereabouts of the Ark of the Covenant, and I was very confident because I was told directly by the voice of my God where the Ark had been taken to. So I'm not going to be fooled. I'm not going to be listening to anyone else telling me where it is. There could be so many theories. I'm not interested. And I know that they will ultimately give it to me in the United States of America, according to the oracles and the vision and the revelation I have received from my God. They will ultimately give it back to me, and I will take it to my people. And I saw myself on that particular day of the revelation holding it, and I said to the people who were giving me the ark, I said, why is it so small? Like I never thought it would be this small. I thought it was bigger than this. That was my objection. The reason I thought it was small is because the covering that I told you about, the container in which it was put in, was actually bigger than it. So when you see it as a whole with the container, you think that it's quite bigger. But when they take it out of that container, it looks smaller than the container. So that's why I got confused in the revelation, saying, why is it smaller? I thought it was bigger. That was the revelation and the power of revelation that I was given and the oracles. Then the voice came back and said, Solomon, tell the people not to put gunpowder near the Ark of the Covenant, for this provokes me. And now that needed an interpretation, of course. Why would they be concerned about gunpowder? I thought they would talk about the real guns being shot, that maybe they shouldn't shoot anybody around the ark. I don't know what that meant until I found out that when you shoot a gun, the gunpowder is released into your fingers when you shoot at that particular time. I had to ask some people. So when the police come to investigate who was shooting, they will have to examine your fingers that were pulling the trigger to find the gunpowder inside those fingers, to be sure that you are the one who fired the gun. Yes, this can also mean the same thing. In Ethiopia, the trade of my people and the trade of the Ark of the Covenant was to get money that was going to buy guns, because the rebels were approaching Addis Ababa and they were entering Addis Ababa. Mengistu was afraid, and he needed arms to be able to defend his territory from the rebels who were approaching Addis Ababa. And so the arm deal and the quest to obtain firearm is the one that got my people sold, and is the one that got the Ark of the Covenant traded for 42 million, or through a bribe of 42 million. So this was all for the sake of the gun or the gunpowder. So for this reason, the gun is a problem to my kingdom, and to the Ark of the Covenant, and to the children of Beta Israel. It was the gun that made the sale of my people possible. It was the gun that made my people lose the Ark of the Covenant, which was a union with their God. So the gun is my enemy. The gunpowder is not a friend of this kingdom. Therefore, my people, I've come to tell you, to reveal this truth to you, so that you will know what happened here. And that one of these days, we will have to go to the United States to receive the Ark of the Covenant that has been taken from us and placed in this underground bunkers at Site R at the Raven Rock Mountain, to return to Israel, or to Lemba Beta Israel, through the king of Lemba Beta Israel, the one who's speaking to you right now. This is the greatest revelation ever in millennia that could ever be given, or in many centuries, coming from the king of Lemba Beta Israel, telling you how he had encounter with his God, who revealed to him. Now, all these things that I just mentioned. Now, someone may say, I don't believe you. Well, the reason I had this video done was not to make people believers. This is not the intention of this video. The intention of this video is to tell. The former things are come to pass. Behold, the new things I declare, but before they spring forth, I tell you of them. I want you to be able to say to me, as you told us, so now it's happening. Yes, I don't want to tell you when this is already happening. I want to tell you before it happens, so that you will look forward to this. And when it happens, you remember that my words were true. So I'm not asking for believers here to believe me. This is very practical and very scientific. That if the Ark of the Covenant is radiating something, has got a lot of radiation waves, and can reach me wherever I am because I'm a messenger of our God, and then I can be shown who has taken it and who is going to return it to me in due course, then I have no need to look for believers for this. Anyone else in the world will see this with their own eyes in the final analysis. Yes. So do not worry about believing or not believing in me. This is not of any relevance whatsoever. Yes. What is of relevance is that this message was told, so that when it happens, you will begin to confirm that the words I've been given by my God were true. And the revelation was not just a fantasy, was not a fantasy, but was the real tremendous impact that our God has on us, on our lives as his people. So, all I can say to the United States of government, I may not be as important as they think I am, but my word is made through this medium. Give it back. Give it back. If you don't give it back, it's not a threat, but it's the truth and the facts. I'm hinting facts, I'm not hinting hints. If you don't give it back, you will have a lot of misfortune in your country. You will have a lot of tsunamis, you have a lot of blizzards, you will have a lot of catastrophes, natural ones, that you will not be able to explain. You'll find yourself in such a catastrophe because of the ark, because it gives you bad luck because it's not yours. It should give you bad luck because it's not yours. Maybe you may think it's not giving you bad luck now, but it will soon do so. Maybe it has already done so because you had so many disasters and catastrophes that were unexplained. I was watching the fire burning your people, even on the lakes. the fire going across the lakes, getting to the people. The people had to go into the water to cool themselves off of the fire. What kind of a fire is this that goes over the lake? Yeah, some of the things you will not be able to understand. So therefore, if I were you, I will call the king of Lemba Israel, King Binyam Selamun, and say, come and get your object because it's giving us bad luck. Every time we try to do something, of course we do it, we seem like we're doing well, but suddenly then we have a catastrophe. We have this Katrina, yeah, we have these disasters, they go up to the Bahamas, we have these kind of things that are not easily explained. It's because of the misfortunes that have befallen us in America. We are a great nation, but we have this thing that we cannot balance. These natural things that are not explained happening to us. Well, the answer is here now. Listen to me. I may look like I'm nobody to you, but listen to me. The ark that you're keeping is the one that is giving you distress. Thank you very much. My job is now simplified. It's easy. All I can say is not to argue or to quarrel or to fight or to take arms and fight the United States or fight somebody that I think is not my friend or is my enemy. All I have to do is my job is easy now because I've given this message out. I feel so good and so relieved. All I need to repeat is to say, give it back, give it back. That's all my job. Give it back, give it back, give it back. Thank you very much. Salam, salam, peace be unto the Lemba Israel children around the world. Peace be unto those who are keeping the ark under one condition, if they give it back. Salam, salam, my people. Salam, Lemba Israel, and salam to the world. This is King Binyam Selamun of Lemba Israel.